All right, thank you all for being patient. Gentleman works down the street, and I get it when you get caught up with a million different things and go, oh gosh, yeah, I gotta go. So, welcome to the September 12th Board of Zoning Appeals hearing. Ms. Cobb, will you please call to order?
Shantae Hall.
Here.
Corey Carnegie.
Here.
Dominic Epps.
Here.
Richard Eslick.
Here.
Melissa Venable.
Present.
We have a quorum.
And also, I'd like to welcome Ms. Shantae Hall to our BZA board. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to working with you over the next several years. Have you all had a chance to look at the minutes? If you agree with the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any issues? Okay, we'll move forward. We have one old business item, BZA 13-2022, 329 Declaration Lane, submitted by Erica and Kenya Bowden. It was tabled from July 13th, 2023. Do we have any conversation, anything that's changed, or a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for approval.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Conversation of the motion?
No conversation of the motion. We just want the individual family who's submitted this to come up so we can explain to her what we want her to do as we voting against, approving her for this.
So you'd like her to come to the podium?
Yes.
Ms. Bowden, would you mind coming up? It's a bit unworthy. Do we have questions, or you have a statement? Okay.
Hello, how you doing this evening?
I'm good.
All right, so I'm for you to do what you have to do. We just want you to do your part and go after the people who put you in the position that you're in right now. We just want you to let you know that that's what we want you to do from us. All right.
October the 13th is my court date.
All right, and we wish you very good luck with that also.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. With no further comments or conversation, would you please call for a vote, Ms. Cobb?
You guys please vote on the matter before you, BZA 13-2023.
Yes.
Shantae Hall.
Yes.
Carnegie.
Yes.
Dominic Epps.
Yes.
Mr. Eslick.
Yes.
Melissa Venable.
No.
The motion passes with a vote of 4-1.
Congratulations, ma'am. I hope you have good luck in October. Okay, now we'll move on to our public hearings today. The first public hearing is item BZA 26-2023. The address is 206 Northbrook Avenue, and the applicant is Thomas and Debbie Wilson. Would you please read the caption, Ms. Cobb?
Before the Board of Zoning Appeals today is BZA 26-2023. The applicants Thomas and Debbie Wilson are requesting a variance to reduce the required side yard setback from 15 feet to 4.9 feet in order to construct an addition. The property is identified as tax map 33A*M6, addressed as 206 Northbrook Avenue, zoning classification residential low medium density. When you act on this request, you will be acting on a request to reduce the required side yard setback from 15 feet to 4.9 feet in order to construct an addition. Should the board decide in favor of approving this request, the 8 findings as listed in your package must be articulated as part of the motion. We now will have the staff report by Melvion Knight.
Good afternoon. My name is Melvion Knight. I'm the Assistant Zone Administrator for the City of Suffolk. Today I'll be presenting BZA 26-2023 for 206 Northbrook Avenue. The applicants, Thomas and Debbie Wilson, property owners, are requesting a variance from the Unified Development Ordinance, UDO, Article 4, Section 31-407, Table 407-1, Dimensional Standards L, to reduce the required side yard setback from 15 feet to 4.9 feet in order to construct an addition. The property is identified as tax map and parcel 33A*M6, located at 206 Norfolk Avenue, Suffolk, Virginia, Holy Neck Voting Borough, zoning classification RLM, residential low, medium. This variance request was advertised in the Suffolk News Herald, and a notice was mailed to adjacent property owners in accordance with Section 15.2-2204 of the Code of Virginia. A public notice sign was posted on the property pursuant to the request of the zoning administrator.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any questions? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was a good pause. I apologize.
A long pause, I'm sorry. The applicant stated that the side yard setback in the residential low zoning district will not allow for the expansion of the existing 1955 single-family dwelling. The property owner submitted a request to construct a 16 by 20 addition in the rear of the existing dwelling. The dimensional standards for newly platted lots in the RLM zoning district requires a total lot area of 15,000 square feet with a minimum frontage of 80 feet and a minimum lot width of 100 feet when measured the front setback line. The survey shows that the original single-family dwelling was non-conforming in the side yard setback, which is listed or shown on the survey at 4.9 feet, which does not comply with the current Unified Development Ordinance. Staff examined other options available to the property owner to remedy the side yard setback to construct the proposed rear addition. Per the Unified Development Ordinance, the zoning administrator may grant up to a 30% reduction on the front, side, or rear setbacks when any lot experiences a hardship. Unfortunately, the reduction of the side yard setback exceeds the 30% allowance of these administrative variants. The findings of the applicant's hardship show the following. The property was obtained in good faith, and the hardship existed prior to the adoption of the current Unified Development Ordinance. It is staff's recommendation to approve the current request to reduce the side yard setback to 15 feet to 4.9 feet to bring the original side yard into compliance with the current Unified Development Ordinance. Here on the monitor is just a highlighted area that I zoomed in and showed the area where the proposed 16 by 20 addition will go on the property. And then in the lower left-hand corner, you see where the original house encroaches into the side yard setback and is shown at 4.9 feet. If we were to approve this packet, it would clean up the existing conditions, bringing the entire site into compliance with the current language of our UDF. And then this is just a rendering showing the side yard projection along with the interior layout proposed by the property owner. The applicant is here for questions, and staff is available for any comments or questions that the board may have. Thank you.
Sorry for interrupting you previously. Are there any comments or questions for Melvion while she's at the podium?
Yeah, I just have one question. So there's nothing you all can do in regards to the current house encroaching?
No, sir. As long as the house remained as it was, if they were going to do any additions to the interior, then the side yard setback would not be a problem. But the fact that they are modifying the house and expanding the current footprint of the house, this mechanism is going to clean up the existing nonconformity. But if they had stayed in the same footprint, they would have remained nonconforming and we would have approved it as it was.
Gotcha.
But the expansion has to come into compliance.
Okay, so okay, all right, that makes sense.
Okay, terrific. Any other questions? Thank you so much, Melvion.
Thank you, ma'am.
We will now open the public hearing. Hearings are 30 minutes in length, 10 minutes for proponents, 15 minutes for opposition, and 5 minutes for rebuttal. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application?
Linda Maria, I'm a builder. I'm the one who's doing this job over here. So I just got a few questions about this. Because I get permits for build homes, and sometimes they don't meet those requirements, those 16 feet setbacks. And I just got a question why I apply for some houses while other ones it doesn't. That's all.
Okay, we'll answer questions after the public hearing is closed. Thank you. Is there anyone here, anyone else to speak in favor of this application?
I'm the property owner.
And your name and address, ma'am?
Debbie Wilson, 206 Northbrook Avenue.
Okay, terrific.
Yeah, we're just trying to add on, just to extend the house a little bit further. I mean, we're not going any further in anybody else's property. We're just going back further straight on the house that's already there. And it's a one bathroom house. And I got an 87-year-old woman that lives with us who, we need another bathroom. And it's just a bathroom and a bedroom that we're trying to add on. Because nowadays, I mean, I raised 3 teenagers in a house with 1 bathroom, but we need another bathroom. It's very hard. And that's what we're trying to do, just a bathroom and a bedroom added on to the back. Like I said, we're not encroaching any further into anybody's property. We're just going straight back into our property along with the existing house that's there.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you very much.
thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone here to speak against or in opposition? Seeing none, is there anything else you'd like to add? That'll close this public hearing. Do we have any questions or comments? I believe I can answer your question in regard to the side yard setback. The side yard is specifically correlated with the zoning category, and the ordinance that was approved in 20-plus years ago. 99. That was approved in 99, made a lot of adjustments to a lot of the existing homes that were built previously, which has taken some properties out of conformity, hence you being in this situation. But it's very much dependent on the zoning category of the property. And in your case, it's zoned RLM, and the current side yard setback for RLM is 15 feet. But when the house was built, I'm sure it conformed at the 4.9 or 5 feet. So that's why you're here today. If there's nothing else, do we have a motion or questions?
Just a question. How close is the next house to you? Is not right there close to? Yeah, because Dominic just brought it up, and then I would just.
I'm at the end of kind of like the street.
So is a lot of yard over there?
Huh?
Is a lot of yard space?
Between my
House,
my
physical house?
and their house, yes.
Okay,
Yes,
that's the,
because we're on a bend and she's
Right,
at
so-
the catty corner.
right, because so he would have to know, just in case if he does this again, that if a house was close enough, you have to protect that side of the house. So you have to use certain material to take care of that part. That's the only question that we had, but you're good to go. You're fine. You're fine.
I think, Mr. Carnegie, that we have rear yards up against that side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got bushes
Bushes
beside
and
it and
stuff, right?
everything.
Yeah, that's what, he just pulled it up.
Yeah. So I make a motion to approve.
I second.
We have a motion and a second for Mr. Epps and Mr. Carnegie. Discussion of the motion. Ms. Cobb, will you please call for a vote?
Shante Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Cornegay?
Yes.
Mr. Epps?
Yes.
Mr. Eslick?
Yes.
Ms. Venable?
Yes.
The motion carries 5-0.
Congratulations. Thank you. We'll move forward to the next. Okay, no problem. Thank you. Thank you, folks. So the next item this afternoon is BZA 27-2023, address 6142 Whaleyville Boulevard, submitted by Margie Manley. Ms. Cobb, would you please read the caption?
Before the Board of Zoning Appeals today is BZA 27-2023. The applicant, Margie Manley, is requesting a variance to reduce the required number of on-site parking spaces from 42 spaces to 18 spaces to establish an event venue. The property is identified as tax map 64A*71E, addressed as 6142 Whaleyville Boulevard, zoning classification Village Center. When you act on this request, you will be acting on a request to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 42 spaces to 18 spaces to establish an event venue. Should the board decide in favor of approving this request, the 8 findings as listed in your package must be articulated as part of the motion. We will now have the staff analysis read by Ms. Melvion Knight.
Jack of all trades today, Ms. Melvion Knight.
Okay. Today I will be presenting BZA 27-2023 for 6142 Wellaville Boulevard. The applicant, Margie Manley, property owner, is requesting a variance from the Unified Development Ordinance, Article 6, Section 31-606, parentheses A, parentheses 7, Table 606-2, for off-street parking requirements to reduce the required number of on-site parking spaces from 42 spaces to 18 spaces to establish an event venue. The property is identified as tax map and parcel 64A*71E. The property is located at 6142 Wellaville Boulevard, Wellaville Voting Borough, zoning classification VC. This variance request was advertised in the Suffolk News Herald, and a public notice was mailed to adjacent property owners in accordance with Section 15.2-2204 of the Code of Virginia. A public notice sign was also posted pursuant to the request of the zoning administrator. The applicant's request for a variance from the parking guidelines for a public assembly use requires 1 space per 500 square feet of floor area. The applicant has proposed to operate a public assembly with non-permanent seating for various events such as weddings, baby showers, anniversary dinners, church events, and class reunions. The historical details show that the site shows that the building has maintained a commercial use, and on table 406-1, principal use permitted in zoning districts, the proposed use of assembly requires that the applicant apply for a conditional use permit prior to the operation of the proposed use. While under review, it was uncovered several situations showing that the location of the building failed to conform with the parking requirements of the ordinance. According to the exhibits, the parking requirements According to the exhibits, the building's side yard failed to meet the clearance requirement of 12 feet to allow access to the rear portion of the lot. And due to the location of an underground septic system, it prevented the rear area from acting as an area for additional parking for guests. Per the Unified Development Ordinance 31-606, parentheses A, parentheses 8, it allows for the administrator to modify the parking request by up to 10%. Unfortunately, the modification request of 42 spaces would have been a reduction that exceeded the allowance of the administrator by 57.1%. The site has no exterior modifications or improvements and has maintained the existing conditions on site, even updating the gravel parking area to provide adequate parking surface for the proposed venue. The findings of the applicant shows the following. The property was obtained in good faith, and the location of the underground septic system prevents the applicant from complying with the parking standards of the ordinance. It is staff's recommendation that BZA 27-2023 requests to reduce the required number of spaces on site from 42 to 18 spaces be approved by the board. The information that's shown here on the screen is an illustration that was submitted with the proposed parking. If you notice that the arrow section here is showing that there's mobility along the side, allowing the occupants to have access to the rear yard area. However, when we flip over to the survey that's shown here, the color area that's shown in the pale green shows that that side yard actually shows at 10.4 feet between the property line and the side wall of the building, which would show us that if the parking area were to utilize that area to access the rear, that there will be some type of encroachment or impeding on the adjacent property. And according to the ordinance, the property or movement of vehicles has to be maintained on the site and where the use is going to be utilized. And then also the area that's shown in yellow. The yellow area shows the area where the septic tank, the existing septic tank, is located on the property, and then the drainage field is also shown in the back and the rear. So therefore, with these conditions being on the site, it's preventing the property to access that area in the rear. I've also included pictures, visual pictures of the property showing that there are markers there. The parking area has since been updated with new gravel, but this was an area that has been utilized for parking. And then this is just another image of the front facade of the building for the proposed venue. I'm available for any questions that you may have, and the applicant is also here if you have questions as well.
So I do have a quick question. The picture that you just showed, if you could go back, that's the front of the building, and it shows grass, but they're parking on the grassed area, or you said that's been since
That has been
replaced with
updated.
gravel?
If you look here, let's see if I can zoom in.
Do the gravel there?
But there's gravel where there's been a growth of grass underneath it. The owner has since gone back and reestablished that parking gravel area because we have confirmed that there were gravel parking spaces previously. So we have images where there's new gravel that's been placed down in that parking area.
Got it. Okay. And how wide on a private property like this, how wide does a drive aisle have to be considered a drive aisle if it's one-way traffic in and one-way out?
Well, it would be 12.
It has
And
to
the fact of the matter that she wouldn't be able to utilize both sides of the property with them being less than 10 or close to 10 feet in each side yard, she will only be able to contain the parking in the front. So 12 will be the minimum.
So right now, they can't go around the building?
No, sir. They do not have the clearance. According to the survey, the area between on both sides is less than 10, or it's at 10.4 on one side and then less than 10 on the portion that's in the rear on the right-hand side.
And that's because of the survey, right?
Yes.
So there's no building, no structure that wouldn't allow them to do that. So they would have to get permission from the adjacent property owner.
And there's a gate up there too.
Oh, it's a gate?
Well, it's something that if they were to do some type of agreement, it would have to be agreement between property owners, or maybe we would even consider them doing some type of boundary line adjustment to acquire more property. But with that will be changing up the conditions of the site. So I'm not sure if that would require them to come into compliance with the current code because they're changing the conditions of the site.
But you also can't have any parking over top
No,
of the
they wouldn't be able to
septic.
park on the septic tank. They wouldn't be able to park on the septic tank area.
Can't park on the drain fields because of the weight.
Last question, obviously the site's been used. Was parking happening in the rear?
I'm not sure if the parking was happening in the rear before Ms. Manley acquired the property. Our records show that it was previously used as a commercial area, but it appears that majority of parking did happen in the front, but I don't have anything to confirm that at this time.
And do you have confirmation of the building size? Because when I looked at the calculations, I'm coming up with a much larger building size than, if it's 500, one space for every 500 square feet. No. One per 50. That was my problem. Okay. All righty. Thank you. Sorry for all the questions.
Thank you.
We will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application?
Hey, how you doing?
My name is Marjorie Manley, and I am the owner of this property. Now, this survey they have here, this survey is old as I am. And I had asked if anyone wanted to come out there and look at the property because I have been driving around this property to unload and load, and just like if they had showed you the picture of the shed that's there, which is like a 30 by 30 shed that was there when I bought it, I'm sure they did not walk that shed back there. So it had to be, it's enough room to drive back there. And I'm just trying to bring small business to Wellerville, which is the village area, to help with the, most of the, maintain with the churches and stuff, because a lot of the churches that I go to up there, they do not have banquet halls. So when they have a funeral and stuff, they just kind of like give you a carry-out tray and send you on your way because they don't have a place for anything but the pastors to sit and socialize. And that's it.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am. I
you.
think we'll have some questions for you. We'll
Yes,
just,
dear.
once the public hearing's closed.
Oh, yes, thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Is there anyone else to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition of this application? Seeing none. Ma'am, would you like to add anything or just wait for questions? Okay, thank you. That'll close this public hearing. Do we have any questions, comments, or a motion?
I have a question. So
Don't sit down.
I think this is for Melvion. Looking at the parking exhibit, was this from, I don't know if this from the survey company. Well, it had to be. I see the pins. I don't know if you can see it. Not that it's another.
Oh, that one. That was an exhibit that was included in the submission packet that was provided by Ms. Manley.
Okay.
But through the conversations with staff and the applicant, she is aware that she will have to provide an updated draft because the information that was submitted in that packet would not support the parking requirements for the city because that wasn't a true depiction of the 9 by 18 size spaces in the front yard area.
That was gonna be my question because I see it shows 30 total spaces in the front, and then it shows 27.5 feet on the right-hand side.
So a new parking guideline or rendering would have to be submitted before they go to the land use, conditional use permit before planning commission and city council. So she would have to update it to show
Right.
a true,
Okay.
accurate depiction of the parking area.
Yeah, because looking at this, I can see probably why they rendered what they rendered, because it shows 30 feet on the left and 27 feet on the right, which seems to be way more than enough space needed. But if the survey is saying something totally different, it's like the survey and this rendering is just not lining up.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
this is almost a different site if you look at the size of the building and how the property boundary comes in, maybe just used as an example.
So do we have a rendering that shows the 18 spaces totally in front of the structure?
Well, that's something that we're going to work with the applicant for her to produce it prior to going to city council. But the 18 spaces came solely off of the banquet area with measuring that 900 square foot space. And then with us dividing it by the 50 gave us that number of 18 spaces. And so between staff and the staff on the planning side and zoning, we're confident that we'll be able to work out something to have a solid plan available for planning commission and city council.
Depicting 18 spaces.
The 18 spaces, if it is approved by this board.
And that would be totally in front of the structure?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Manley, do you have a moment? If you were to get the 18 spaces approved today, do you think 18 spaces is enough to serve your needs for this building? Or do you have anywhere where you would be trying to do off-site or off-street parking or shared parking?
No, I can deal with like, say 20 spaces, because when I had the last meeting with the planning committee, that's all they talked about was 20 spaces. And I didn't even know about the 18 till I saw it in the paper. But I had sent letters to both residents on each side and the ones across the street about sharing parking, and no one wants anyone parking on their grass. That's just the bottom line. And I also sent them a copy of what the planning had gave me that says agreement is for 20 years. So that right there, I think, kicked them out with saying, "Who gonna park on my grass for 20 years?" And that paperwork came from the planning.
So I guess my question is if you're approved today for 18 spaces and that allows you to move forward, you don't have an alternative.
Well, I was looking at talking to a friend of mine that got a church up there, but they also told me that was too far. Which I'm like, okay, if they willing to park, let them park there, and they just double up on the cars, I don't understand what the problem is.
Would you have like a shuttle type service or a golf cart?
Yeah, we can always arrange something to get them from one point to the other.
But 18 is. Well,
Yeah, you don't
I
wanna
mean,
do
they
that
have
on
some
the
street,
boulevard.
they have some
Definitely
street
don't.
legal golf carts. Curtis Boulevard sells them.
Yeah, a lot of big trucks going down there
No,
too.
not with all them trucks coming through there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I had was like her getting around there, because I understood when she was saying how she could get around there, around to the back. But the only problem is that septic tank. That septic tank is kind of like pressing on the.
See, and that's my question too, because you mentioned that you can go around the back. But as I'm looking at the picture, you see, like, even up here, you have the handicap, then you have that parking at the corner of the building.
Yeah, the handicap is
Even
all
like
that's
that
in the
is like
front.
this on the
All
picture
that-
too.
yeah, but
Then
that's
you
all
have
in the
that
front.
corner parking
That's
right
not
there.
accurate.
Yeah, that's not accurate.
No,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Google Maps of her building. It's like that. See how she had that corner? But on the Google Maps, you have a fence on both sides. But I'm trying to figure out how would you, if you have people parking, you go on the left-hand side, and you have people you have a person parking in the front at this corner here, and then you have a person parking right there. How would you actually
Get a car
get
around.
between the two cars that's parked like this, and then try to fit between the space of a iron fence? Well, it's a regular chain-like fence, and then the building. You're not going to be able to fit to go around the back. And then on the other side, there's a privacy fence, and the side is even smaller. So I was just trying to wonder, if you have an event going on and people parked in the front, and going based off you saying you can get in the back, how would that actually work? Did you try getting in the back of the building with people actually already parked in the front? Have that actually happened
Most
yet?
of the people that came had small cars, so that didn't interfere. I mean, I drive a van, but the ones that had came out there that was helping me do, put up the curtains and all this kind of stuff, they all had small cars, and they was parked basically where you see and that wooden fence there is like a floating deck. So all that is gonna be moved to the back, so that will not be in the front. That's gonna be moved to the back.
Right, but if you're looking at this picture here, what Ms. Hall is saying, if someone is parked on that last parking spot on the corner, right, I think that parking spot probably should be removed
Yes,
if it's
yes.
approved, because
Right.
you can't have that parking spot there and someone trying to.
Right. And
Yeah.
I already talked to the guy about moving that. He got a forklift thing, because them
Okay.
things are heavy. He got a forklift thing that he gonna move that for me.
Well, but as a board, we need to understand that it's not legal for her to have cars
Round
pulling
into
to
the
the back because the drive aisle's not wide enough to allow for it. So we have to be,
They can pull golf carts around the back.
that's right. We have to be okay with the idea that this is going to have 18 spaces at best.
Right.
And they'll all be in the front.
Yeah.
All be in the front.
So, just so we're clear, Ms. Manley, if we're approving the 18 spaces in the front, right? If you get caught having any cars in the back, right, then that would mean that you are now non-conforming, and you will have to deal with whatever the city will have you to deal with if they
Right.
come and show up and see that there's cars, people parking in the back. So what are you going to put in place to ensure that no one goes to the back to park? Because the reality is, if you're having an event and, people are showing up, how are you going to stop them from, because people are going to park wherever they see
Right.
empty
Availability.
space, right? So how are you going to stop people from going back there to
Oh, I have those 6x6 poles that is going like from the back corner of the building to where the shed is. where the shed is, and then the driveway that stops at the shed there, because the driveway that stops at the shed is where all the equipment is for the building.
Right, and that makes sense that you would, if she needs to access the back, just like any of us,
Right.
you access the backyard, you don't want to block that off. That makes sense. I just want to, I hope as you move forward, there's alternative measures and alternative places for parking as you move through the process, because we hate to have this limited. We hope it's super successful and it serves the community well.
Yeah, and I was looking at asking the city if we can use the parking behind the fire department, which I can stand in the driveway and see the whole fire department on that side of them that goes to the back where they have the Wellerville Community Center, because I think they use that no more. I haven't heard anybody say they use it no more.
So you're being creative. Well,
Oh, okay.
it sounds like you're thinking through different ideas, and I think that's great. Do you, you don't have a typical size or a typical gathering size? It's going to be all kinds of groups and sizes, is that right?
Yeah, well, where's a wedding reception or where there's a class reunion, yeah.
But her capacity is going to be based on the parking space size.
Yeah, so that's
So
what I'm
our
assuming. Will the
department
conditional use permit limit her capacity? Okay. So between this process, assuming she gets approved today, and conditional use permit, hopefully she'll be able to find a place where there can be some nearby shared parking off-site, or does that not count if it's off-site?
The distance was too great to abide by. I think it's like 500. 200 linear feet, and so the areas that she was proposing, they exceeded the allowance that we had inside the ordinance, so we don't have any other alternatives except for this.
How far is the Whaleyville Community Center?
That's a ways.
More than
Yeah.
200.
Okay.
Ms. Knight, have you all had any phone calls from the adjacent neighbors in regards to this, either approving or disapproving?
No, we haven't received any callbacks or feedback from adjacent property owners. They did receive a letter, but no one has called or questioned the application moving forward.
I do have one last question. Is it possible to get the drive aisle narrowed down to 10 feet, except for one-way traffic, but you don't have 10 feet on the other side, so that, okay. I think we've asked all the questions we can ask. So, do we have anything else?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Thank
you, ma'am.
I make a motion to approve. With the understanding of it being 18 parking spaces and not being able to use it in the back.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion of the motion? Seeing none, Ms. Cobb, would you take a vote?
Ms. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Cornegay?
Yes.
Mr. Epps?
Yes.
Mr. Eslick?
Yes.
Ms. Venable?
Yes.
The motion carries 5-0.
I wish you lots of luck, ma'am. I hope something wonderful happens and you find more parking. Thank you. Do we have any additional business?
Yeah, Ms. Knight and Ms. Yolanda, there's a lot of personal information in her package. Is there any way y'all can make sure, that is not included? I'm talking like social, she has a whole bunch
Oh, my
of-
gosh.
Yeah, there's a lot of private stuff in here.
I didn't, look.
I print what they give me.
Okay.
And so, all of the information, because I know that with it changing hands and it not being listed in her name, I wanted to show the proof that was given in the land use packet, that she had ownership of it.
Okay.
And so that information was not redacted at the time of submission.
Make sure it is for the
So,
public hearing and everything.
we'll
yeah,
make sure that it is for the
that's
public
such a
hearing.
great observation.
Now, I know that this information has not been posted online,
I saw that, and that's
Yeah.
why I shredded it.
so, but
Yeah.
I'll bring it to the planner's attention.
So if we give these back to you, you'll shred them?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
we will.
Okay. And then if that happens going forward, they gets blacked out. Oh my gosh, what a great catch. That was so nice. Is there any additional information for today? Do we have a meeting next month?
Yes.
So exciting.
What's next month?
October?
October.
Wait.
Hold on one second. October 11th? No, October 10th.
Huh?
October 10th?
On Wellerville Boulevard?
Well, not on the boulevard. There's gotta be another way.
I'll be here. Then next-
Will, you sure?
What's the
I'll
date?
follow it. I will.
What's the date?
Okay, October 10th.
I leave at 12. That's the next meeting.
Way to look out for us.
Busy with them trucks? I wish somebody would be on a golf
How
cart
about
going.
this poor lady? All right, that closes our public hearing for today.